Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about DIY air assist for your OMTech laser. So as you can see, these are all the parts that you're going to need, with the exception of some wiring that's not shown here and some wire nuts. So first of all, we have the tubing, the airline tubing. Over here we have a quick connect with a push to connect fitting that's going to connect into your compressor or your airline, however you have it set up. We have a bunch of push to connect fittings throughout, but we have a air filter with an air regulator on it, 2 solenoid valves, a flow control valve, and that's pretty much it. And again, like I said, push to connects, we have a straight, a 90, a Y, the flow control, and then some straights for the solenoids, and then also another Y to come back to the single line, and then a straight coupling type push to connector to connect to the original airline that's in the machine. So we're looking at the machine over here. I'm going to be putting my filter and regulator about in this area over here on the machine. I'll put the solenoids on the back side, and then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run the airlines into the back of the machine, connect them to the existing airline that's in there so that it runs right up to the gantry. We won't have to mess with anything there as far as airlines go. We'll just cut the airline on the existing air pump. We'll unwire that pump, and then we'll wire these new solenoids in. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to probably have to drill some holes, and then I think I'm going to just use some double-sided tape to stick the solenoids on the backside. It might be a little difficult for you to see that. I'm going to do my best, but as you can see, I've kind of got it up against the wall already, and all my plumbing installed for my exhaust system. So I don't really want to pull it out of the way because it's all leveled up and ready to go. So I really don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to get some tools. I'm going to see about getting this set up, and then I'll catch up with you in a minute here. Okay, so we're back to all the parts over here. Probably the first thing you'll see is that on this quick connect, I've already got the push to connect fitting in there, and you can see that that focuses. I've got some extra tape on there, right? So these push to connects, when they come, they do come with some sort of tape, or like, you know, maybe a little bit of a paste on there. You can see probably on that one a little bit better, where they, you know, to seal the joint. But you know, I just don't trust those quite enough. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little bit of I've got some Teflon tape here. You can find this at any hardware store. I'll also make sure I have a link in the video, but you know, 99 cents typically, something like that. I get at Harbor Freight, Lowe's, Home Depot, any of those places. So I'll take that, and then what I'm going to do is I'll start with this one here. I'll just pull a little bit, you know, off of it, and just rip it off. And the goal is just going to be basically get that straightened out, and then what I'll do is I'll get that wrapped on there. Now see, it's kind of covering the inside. That's not such a big deal, but I get that wrapped around there nice and tight. And I go clockwise, and you'll see the reason why. You know, get that tightened up on there, and then what I'll do is You grab my valve, and then as you spin it clockwise to tighten it, you're not peeling the tape off. So you want to make sure you go the right direction. If you wind your tape counterclockwise, you're liable to peel it off. So I've got a 14mm wrench here. Just going to put it on the box end, tighten that guy up, and get it nice and snug. We don't want to over tighten it, but you know, we want to get it nice and tight so we're not having air leak. So I've got a straight one coming in. I'm going to put an elbow coming out, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of these here. So I'm going to get these all taped up. I'm not going to let you or have you watch me do all that. I'm going to get them all taped up. I'm going to get them installed, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I've got the connections together on my my air valve, and then also on my solenoid. So as you can see, you don't have to be perfect with the tape. It can get up on the hex portion of it. Not a big deal. Incidentally, I did forget to remind you guys that the valve or the gauge itself does not come on the actual pressure gauge, so you have to do the same thing there. And then one other thing too, which I already had done, but if you're probably, when you receive it, you're going to see this clip, and you'll see your pressure gauge in like this, and this is probably going to be threaded on here, but basically you just unthread it, set that guy down on there, and then thread it back on. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to go wherever you want. Your tube kit should also come with a cutter to cut the tube, and then it comes with several different other connectors as well. But here's the cutter right there, so pretty easy to do. You just kind of put the tube in there and then squeeze down, and it's going to pinch it and cut it right off. So I think next I'm probably going to go over here. Well, you know what? Let me find my screwdriver. Okay, so I've got my screwdriver here. What we want to do is take these solenoid valves apart. Pretty easy. Basically, you just see this little screw on the edge here of the plastic part. I don't want to unscrew that. And once we get that out of there, go a little bit further. There we go. And see what happens. We got the plug there, and then on the back side that came out that way. So we'll want to get that guy, or get that out of there. So let me see here. All right, so it's still stuck in there. So what I do is if I just look in this end a little bit, you can kind of see a little bit of a lip. Push that screw back down in there, pops right out. So this is where we're going to make all of our connections. You can see the little green LED there. That's going to be what we want to see light up when we're activated. When we're activated, that means the solenoid is opened up, has opened up the valve, and it's allowing the air to move through. So in an ideal situation, the way this should work is when we have Lightburn set to air assist on, we'll have one of the solenoids will open up, and it'll be at the pressure of the gauge here, which is probably going to be around the 20 to 30 psi range. We'll see once we get playing with it. But when we have it off, the air assist off, then what we'll do is we'll run through the other solenoid valve, which will go through this flow control valve, then go through the flow control valve, and ultimately we'll end up with a much lower pressure. So even though we'll have like 20 here, we'll go have about 20 here, but then we'll restrict it even further down at the flow control valve, and that'll allow us to restrict the flow. We'll have that one wired into a different terminal on the controller, and what'll happen then is when the laser is on but air assist is turned off, the air will still flow through here. This will still open up, air will still flow, so we'll have a very low pressure flow coming through to essentially just basically kind of keep the lens clean, keep the smoke off. But we really don't want a high pressure when we're engraving, because then it's going to blow the char and everything all around there. We really only want the high pressure when we're cutting. So in any event, you also want to look when you have these off here, and this is called a diode. So on my links, you'll see that I have diodes in there, but most of them now should come with the diode in them. If they don't, you're definitely going to want to get these and have them set up, but they kind of connect to the terminal, and then on these ones, it's actually soldered to the light. I'm sorry, there we go. It's soldered to that little light there, which is connected to the other terminal. So when we see this and the way it's going to look on here, and you can see the back, it just plugs in. So pretty easy. But the bottom is going to be a ground, and then we're going to have our power sources on the top too. So one of them is going to go to the 24 volt DC, and then the other one is going to go to the correct terminal on our controller, which on mine it says, I think there's status is going to be the one for when we do not have the air assist activated. And then on the other one, I think it says auxiliary air. It may say wind or something of some other sort too. So I'm not 100% sure just offhand here, but yours may be different than mine. But in any event, we'll have 24 volt DC on one side, and then we'll have to the other terminal on the other side, and then we'll have a ground here. So we're going to do that on both of them, and then we'll make sure we get it all connected right. But again, that's for down the road. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop these off, and then that way I can do the wiring where I need to. I can take this and I can mount it onto my laser here on the back of the machine. Like I said, I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Just stick it right here, stick it on the machine, and we'll be good to go. Now, also, you want to look and see, you notice it says in and out. So air comes in, air goes out. Make sure you have it the right direction, or you will not have it working properly. So again, I'll take this one apart as well, do the same thing, make it look just like this. I'll get those mounted up there, and then we'll take a look and see what we're going to do next. Okay, so I put some double-sided tape here. I like this Gorilla Glue double-sided tape. It says it holds up to 30 pounds. Again, I'll put a link for that as well, so make it easier for you guys to find. And then I put, actually, what I'm going to go ahead and do, at least for temporarily, is put it on the back side of the filter and regulator as well, and see if that'll hang on. If it won't, then I'm going to have to screw it into the machine, but at this time I'm going to prefer not to screw into my machine because I really don't want to drill any holes into it if I don't have to. So hopefully the tape holds, and we'll find out here. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the regulator mounted. Again, just using the double-sided tape. It looks like it's probably not going to stay up there, but I live up in the Northeast, and it's the middle of winter right now. It's cold, so the air coming out of my exhaust pipe is cold, which is kind of making the wall cold too, so that may play an effect into it as well. You can also see over here, I've got the two solenoids. I've got them taped to each other with the double-sided tape and then taped up against the machine itself. So what I'm going to do is get through, probably going to start with the wiring here. And what I'm going to do is wire, I'm going to keep it pretty simple with my wiring. I don't have the kit that I'm recommending for you guys, although I'm sure it works just fine. I happen to have some wire around the house, so all I have is red and blue instead of 3 different colors, so I'm going to make use of it. I'm going to call my red, more than likely my red is going to be my power, which is going to be the top 2 again, and then I'll probably use blue for my ground. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take and I'm going to wire these 2 together with a short run. I'm going to bring them out, and I'm going to actually just go ahead probably relatively close here. I'm going to I'm going to connect them to a 3rd wire, basically a pigtail, but it's going to be a longer long pigtail because it's going to go across the machine. So on the back side, I'm going to take this off here, but on the back side of the machine, you can kind of see, you should be able to see here, there's a hole. So you can see that light right there, that's the hole. That's what we're going to go into. I'm going to go ahead and take the, sorry, not focusing here, there we go. I'm going to take the electrical line, I'm going to put it into, or electrical wire, I'm going to put it in there, and come around front here. We'll see, sorry about the mess. But you can see that hole on the back left side again. And then we've got that track, that cable track there. So I'm going to run that wire into that hole, into the cable track. I'm also going to bring the air hose, or air line into that same one, because what you can see over here, if I got a light somewhere, let's see, there's the light. So you can see that's the air pump right there. Again, that's the air line that you're seeing. This right here, that's your air line. What we're going to do is we'll just cut that, and then we'll connect it to our air line. But you can see that cable tray, that's that gray piece in the back there with all the little slots in it. So we're going to get our wire into that. We'll come over, run through this hole, and then we're going to come over to the other side of the machine where we have our cabinet access. Get that opened up. We'll come through that hole, as I said. We'll come back out there. We'll get into this cable tray, and then we're going to tie into this this box here. So you'll want to see, or controller here, but you'll want to see I have a 6-pin connector here. You may or may not have that. If you do not, you're going to need to order that. I think it's around like $8.50. I do have a link to that on my webpage as well, and I'll put the link below also. So, but if you do have that and there's nothing in it, you can just use this one. You don't need to buy that. Okay, so I've got you in my shop here now. Just a little bit easier to be standing up. I've got a couple pieces of wire, and again, I had this left over from another job I did. So this is actually 14 gauge. You guys are going to be using 18 gauge if you're buying from the kit that I put out there. Again, this is stranded, so it's not single. And I'm just going to go ahead and clean off both ends here. And again, if you're using the 18 gauge, you're going to want to use There's several different connector types. I've put a link in for wire nuts that you guys can easily find. These ones, you know, these ones are orange. Again, I'm using, and I don't even know if these will fit. I might have to go up to the next size, to be honest with you. But since I'm using the 14 gauge, I'm not going to be using the gray connectors, but you very well may. Now, you might be able to see in here that I kind of cut it, about 3/4 of an inch or so. And let's see here, I got to get a screwdriver. Get this opened up. So, okay, so I had to go get a different screwdriver. That one was just a little bit too big, but again, opening these up. And like I said, I'm going to do my blue wire is going to be my ground, and then I'm going to have, and again, just stick that in there, and then I'm going to have the red wire as my power wire. So I'll put that in each one. This one's already open. I like to give it a little bit of a twist there just to make sure. Helps keep it from separating once it's in. Get that one tightened down. Nothing too complicated here. And then what I'll do is I'll take these two on this end. I'm going to grab those, and then I've got another longer wire off to the side over here that I about got ready. I have to clean the end off on that one. And then, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring those two, we're going to bring this together and go from there. So get those all three together. And like I said, we'll see if this orange one is the right size. Get them smashed up in there. And then just twist it on there, right? So I like to do that and then give it a little tug on each wire. Make sure not one of them is going to pop out of there. And it seems to all be nice and tight. Let's see, pull that wire out. And then here's a little trick that I learned that I like to do too. It's probably nothing too crazy, but what I like to do is I like to bend it over just like that. And so that kind of keeps it in line and it keeps it from tugging. And then what will happen when I go to tape it, so I got some electrical tape here, and I'll tape it down just to be sure, but it'll allow it to, or prevent it from, if it were to get pulled somehow, some way, it will prevent it from being able to be pulled directly out of the wire nut too. So it's kind of a nice little thing that somebody taught me along the way that I think works well. And then, like I say, I'll just get that tightened around there. And I'll probably come back a little bit. Doesn't hurt to use a little bit extra. Okay. Get that on there. And then basically we're going to be ready to go with the blue wires. So I'm going to do the same with the red. Again, and it's not going to matter which side goes to which, so I don't really have to worry about marking them. We're just going to, the key that we're going to find is we need to know which one of these goes to which solenoid. And then so ultimately we know where to put our flow restrictor, which one to put our flow restrictor on. So I'm going to go ahead, you saw me do the blue, I'm going to go ahead and do the red. Let me think about that for a second. So the red, yeah, I'm going to do the red. I'm going to do one of them just the same way, where I'm going to tie them together. That's going to be my 24 volt DC. So I'm going to have one wire just like this that comes up, and I'm going to splice it together or pigtail it essentially and go to each one of these. And then I'm going to have a separate wire that's going to come from the other terminal on each one and come out. So I'm going to essentially have 3 red wires when I'm all done. I'll have 1 blue and 3 red. I'm going to go ahead and put those together. I'll show you what they look like. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm back here. I've got my 24 volt DC wire hooked up. And as you can see on here, I just went to the top left on both of those, so I still have the top right open. And then if you travel on down, I did the same thing here where I brought them together, tied it in with a wire nut to the pigtail that's, you know, essentially a longer pigtail. And then I'm going to next hook up the wire that's going to go to the wind or auxiliary air terminal, and then the other one for the other solenoid that's going to go to the status terminal. So one thing I forgot to mention before I did this was make sure you put the caps on for the solenoid. So the electrical cover as you do the wiring, especially the way I've got it here with the wire nut in there, it's kind of tough or you won't be able to get it on. So you want to make sure you put the wires through the cap and then wire it in. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the third wire. Again, it's going to be red for me. Third and fourth wire, I guess it should be the third. It'll be red for me, one for each one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this end here. I'm going to put a little sticker on it or a piece of tape so that I know that this is my 24 volt DC. It's the other end of the jumper wire or the pigtail that is going to both of them. So like I said, I'm going to mark that. And then what I'm going to do here too is I'm going to mark the ends of these as they go in to each solenoid, so I know which wire goes to which control or terminal, and then ultimately the other end goes to, so then I know which solenoid to plug these into. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the wires through there. I'm going to mark the ends, and then I'll meet you back in a minute. Okay, so when I last left off here, I apologize for that. My phone died on me. But when I last left off, I was putting together the wires. So while I let my phone charge a little bit, I went ahead and I put the wires, finished wiring them up into the solenoids. As you can see, I don't have any air on there. I got them in that hole. It's kind of tough to see from that direction. Let me come around to the front here. Sorry again. Hope I'm not making anybody sick. But you can see a little bit that the wires come in there. Let me get that my light. There we go. And you can see I just kind of have them across the middle for now. You know, eventually I'm going to go ahead and I'll tuck them into that wire channel. I will say for sure that I definitely recommend doing this before you put it against the wall. I found that it made it a little bit tougher having it tight against the wall, just having to bend and contort in certain ways that I'm not really used to. So anyways, definitely a recommendation if you can. Try to do it before you put it back towards the wall like I did. And then I went ahead and I fished it all the way through over to there. And you can see what I did is I taped it in several different spots. So it kind of helped make it a little bit easier to move and maneuver around. So I'm going to go ahead and get it brought in the rest of the way. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wire this up. I'm going to set it up on a tripod, and then that way you can watch me do it. And I'll explain to you what's going on. So I do want to touch on one thing here though. Again, as I said, that the blue wire is my ground. And then the reds, I decided not to mark them. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a dry run and see which one it is. So I'm going to plug one into, it's called, let's see there, aux air, and one into status. I'm going to run the program and I'm going to see which one does which one. So in other words, I'll have a layer with the air assist on and a layer with the air assist off, and I'll see which one activates at which time. That way I'll know where to put my flow control valve. So what I did do was mark my 24 volt, and I put a piece of blue painter's tape on there so I know which one that is. I'm going to go ahead and put that into the 24 volt terminal there, and then the ground will go into the G&D for ground terminal, which is the bottom one, and we'll get it together. So I'm going to pause you here for a second, get my tripod set up, and then we'll get to work here. Okay, so I've got the tripod set up. Let's see if I can find the rest of my tools. I got a little pair of needle nose pliers here, so I'm just going to go ahead and stick them on there. You know what? First of all, I already have it done, but you need to make sure your laser is off and unplug the machine first of all. And you should probably do that before you do any of this. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Just pull it right out. Comes out nice and easy. You can see there's places for the wire to go in. And then if you turn it a little bit, 90 degrees, you'll see the screws for to tighten the terminals down. So I'm I've got this nice little electrician screwdriver. Probably anyone will work as long as it's small enough. This one happens to be the one that I have and the one that I'm going to use. So again, now the ground is the very bottom one. So I know that my blue is my ground. You can see I didn't strip very much off the end, but you know, standard wiring. I'm just going to go ahead and actually I need to loosen that screw there. So I got that loosened. Just going to go ahead and stick it in there and then tighten it up. Nothing crazy. And then my 24 volt, which as I said has a blue tape on it. If I look here, 24 volt is the top one. So I know I need to go in the top one with that one. So I'm going to loosen that one up. And go ahead and get that stuck in there. Now, that one's just a little bit long. Probably I might have stripped a little bit too much off of it. So I'm just going to clip a little bit off. Make sure I twist that back up there. And then I'm going to go ahead, put it in there. And I'm going to tighten that one back up too. Okay. So now I've got my other two. As I said, they're going to go to status and aux air. So it's going to be pins number 2 and 3. In other words, or the second one and third one's down. So I'm going to loosen those ones up too. Make room for my wire to go in, and I'm just going to pick either one because I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm going to test it and see which one does which. So I'm going to tighten that one up, and then I'm going to get that one in there and tighten it up. Now, make sure your connections are nice and tight. Double check all of them. I recommend double checking all of them that you've done. And we're good to go. So you'll see too that we've got 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5 are empty, and then ground is 6. So once I have that, I'm going to take it. I'm just going to put it back in place, push it back in, make sure it's in there nice and tight. Again, you can see I've got some wire hanging. Not a big deal. We'll clean that all up later on. I'll probably go into this channel down here at the bottom. The way I'll do that is we'll just pop that off, and then that'll just pop in there as long as there's some room. If not, I may just tuck it in along the bottom here. Not a big deal. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I came back over here to the other side, and I just hooked up the air lines real quick. So again, we started on the left side was in, so I've got just my coupling is going to go to my air compressor, and then coming out of the 90, I get into a Y, and then let me get these hoses out of the way here, and then into the solenoids. You can see my tape fell off. I had to peel it off a little bit, but I'll get that set back up there. And then if I can get these hoses out of the way, you can see that I'm coming out of this one into the flow control. Now, I don't really know which one's which here. Maybe I got it right. I got a 50-50 chance here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook my air on, and then I'm going to just run my test. So I'm going to have one layer where I have air assist on, and I have one layer where air assist is off. So the one where air assist is on should only blow part-time. The one where air assist is off, I should actually get a little bit of pressure out of both, the entire out of just the one rather. So let me rephrase that. So air assist is off, then I should get just pressure out of one of the valves. If air assist is, and I'm hoping it's this one here with the flow control on it, and if air assist is on, I should get it out of this valve and out of this valve. But I'll have a very low pressure on this one, again, assuming that's the right one, and a high pressure coming out of this one. So I'm gonna set back, and I'll get it plugged in, and then I'm gonna run that test because I didn't mark my wires. So if you marked your wires, you save this part of it. You may notice too that I've just got a little short lead here to my air compressor. That's because I actually have my machine in my basement and my air compressor is in my garage. So what I did was I ran an air hose over, and I've just got it down here on the floor. I'll bring it up, I'll connect it up there. I'll show you that in just a minute. I'm holding the phone, but give me a minute here. I'll get that set up. We'll take a look at the computer and I'll explain what I did there and how I set the layers up too. Okay, so I plugged my air hose in, so you can see that I've got some pressure. Looks like I'm around 25 psi right at the moment. So, and incidentally, this filter is a self-draining filter. So if I take and I push just up on the bottom of this, you can hear air come out. So what happens is when there's pressure in there, it's actually pushing that pin down, and it's not allowing the moisture to drip out of there. When the pressure is off, then it will allow that to drain out. So if you have a shutoff valve, or you turn your air compressor off and maybe all the pressure drains out of there, that will drip out. So this is the one I have linked in my website and below in the description here, but you may find a different one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little hose, probably a little piece of this air hose, tap it on there, and maybe just run it into like an old pop bottle or something like that. So let me get you on the tripod. We'll take a look at the screen. Okay, so we're over here at the computer. You may find it a little tough to see, but I have one line down here, which is a red line, and then I have a little box up here that's blue. So I have the red line set to line and the blue box set to fill. You'll see that the red line, that's what I use for my cut layer. Over here I have air assist on, and for the blue layer I have air assist off. So again, the theory being that if everything is set up right, then when I run with the air assist on, I should actually have both of the solenoid valves open at the same time. So I'm going to have a low pressure and a high pressure all coming out at the same time. And then when the air assist is off, when it goes to the blue layer, the air assist is off, I should only get the low pressure because I just want a little bit of low pressure on, say, an engrave. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. I'm going to stick my fingers back there, my hand back there, basically just to feel the amount of air that's coming out. And that way I'll be able to tell which one's which. So if I have it right, again, the one coming out of with the flow control valve at the moment will stay low air pressure the whole time. And if not, it'll shut off actually. So I'm just going to put the tip of my finger over the low flow control valve, and if it stays on the whole time, then I think I'm good. So I'm going to go ahead and click start. I got my finger back there, and we're not getting anything. So we need to take a look and see what's happening here. I think it may just be an issue with pressure, because now I'm actually looking at it and my pressure is way low. So let me increase my pressure up a little bit. I might have went too far and it crept down on me without realizing here. So, okay. So now I've got to back up to 25. And then, like I said, it had dropped down on me there. Let's see if I can get you over here to where you guys can see what I'm doing now since you watched the screen. Alright. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click start now. Yep, there's the air. And I've got low pressure. And now we're on to the second layer. So I've just got that low pressure coming out of the second layer, which is my blue layer. So I must have my flow control on the right one. So that's the good news. You can see the pressure is around 25. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect, and it's probably going to be tough for me to show you this because of the position of my laser at the moment, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect the back side of those solenoid valves, the exit side of those solenoid valves, and the flow control valve by a Y, just like what I have here, where it's going to go from where it went from 1 to 2 here, it's going to go from 2 to 1. I'm going to come back into the machine and we're going to connect it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll meet you around front. Okay, so I brought you back around front here. I haven't connected the Y yet, but what I did do was pull out my hose, my air hose. I just pulled out a little bit of a section of it. Like I said, I didn't really want to do the whole thing, but I'll let you go ahead and watch what I do here. So I'm just going to throw it through the back so that I can go around, and then I can reach through and grab a hold of that. So as you can see, guess it's not that easy, and I should pay attention to where that goes. So now I got to back in and reach it. Okay, so I've got it all connected, and we'll see. Let's find the other end of it here. On my reel, or my bundle coil, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I found it. It didn't make you want to painfully watch me dig through there. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to run this just one more time, just to make sure everything seems to make sense. If everything's working again right, I should, as I'm running with the line or the first layer, I'll have, now that I'm back into just one, I'll have high pressure. When it jumps to the second layer, I'll have low pressure. So here we go. Okay. We've got a higher pressure and then a very low pressure right now. So it's not nearly as loud, but it's blowing out of there. I can feel it with my fingertip. And then we're all done. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that black hose back there, and I'm going to just tap into it with a straight connector like this one here. This one should have came with the kit, so once we have that, we're pretty much done, other than cleaning up some of the wiring. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pause. I'm going to go ahead and cut that wire, or not wire, excuse me, hose, but again, I'll use this this nice little tool. Actually, I was quite surprised it came with it. It works really well, to be honest with you. So we'll see how well it works on the black one back there. That may be a little softer, but nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and cut it, and then I'm going to hook it up. Hang on. Okay, so I went ahead. I had to crawl through there again because my machine is up against the wall, but I got through. Again, I just put that connector together there, my blue hose to that one. As soon as I cut it, I feel air coming out of that little pump, and probably if I blow it down here, you can see some dust move around. So basically everything should be hooked up now and working right. As far as the air goes, again, I'm going to have to clean that up, tuck it into the channel, get it out of the way. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go over to that pump. I'm going to find those wires, that air pump. I'm going to find those wires. I'm going to trace them back, and I'm going to just unplug them, take them off the circuit board, so that that basically that thing's not running the whole time. Not that it probably hurts anything, but no sense having it run if we don't need it. Okay, so things look a little more messy probably than the last time we were over here. I peeled this cover off the plastic cable management system here. So, and then what I did was I reached through, I found that wire coming through here. So just kind of follow it down. You know, it makes a mess. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Again, I'm unplugged. Please make sure you unplug before you start messing with any of this stuff. This little cover just pops off right here. So as I traced it, it looks like it's coming right here to these two screws in the middle. And I got my little screwdriver here. So I'm gonna go ahead and, this isn't the right screwdriver for it. Let me go ahead and pause you. I'm gonna get another screwdriver. Okay, so I'm back here. I got a P2 screwdriver. Again, got these wires here, or this wire here. So it looks like it's the blue and the brown one on the middle two connectors. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen that up just enough that I can pull that blue out of there. And I want to tighten that one back down because I don't want to lose the connection to whatever that other wire is there. And again, I'm just going to loosen this one up just enough to pull that brown one out of there. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten that back up as soon as I can get it on there. There we go. So those make a nice connection there too. So go ahead and just pull that out of there. if you want. Probably not a bad idea just to kind of tuck it through, walk around the front or the back of the machine, make sure it is the right wire, you didn't pull the wrong one out. So I'm just going to stuff that in there for now, kind of get it out of the way. I'm going to work on tucking some of these wires back in to the cable management system. And while we're at it, bonus here, we can go ahead and tuck our wires in to the same system. So this was all stuff that was already out, or already in there. And we'll just work on getting them back in. It'll be kind of a little bit of a tedious task here. This is going to be a tough spot here because we got a lot of wires bunched up, but I think we'll get through it. So I'm going to go ahead and just tuck these in. Again, I might have to go through, push that back in a little bit like that. For now, get these all tucked in. And I'm just going to take it all the way to the end because I've got plenty of wire. And then go ahead and get this thing, this cover back on here. And I just get it started. And then I guess you really don't want to push it too much. It's kind of not that easy. So get it started and then just work your way down. Continuing to make sure your wires are tucked in as they should be. And you know, you don't want to be pulling on them too much by any means anywhere. So I'll go ahead and get them stuffed through the side here too. Down at the end so that they can get out and make the necessary, you know, to where they are making their necessary connection. So once I get that, yeah, see we're tight there on that one spot, but then get it back in there all nice and neat. I got my wires, they're kind of loose still, not too tight, not too loose. Put this cover back on over here. And then I still probably got some white. Yeah, see, I got a little bit of looseness in there, or slack in there, I guess I should say. So I just pull it back through. Like I said, I'll clean up the backside in a little bit here. You don't need to see me do that. You watch me do it here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug the machine back in, right behind me here. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the laser on. And incidentally, when you do wire anything up, if you find that something's not acting right, like the machine typically runs to the back corner, if it's not doing that, you probably got something wired wrong and it's confusing the machine. So you might want to stop, look at your wiring, and kind of restart. So everything seems to be working fine here. Let's go back over to the computer. Let's see if we can get... and then I'm going to go ahead and start it, and you can see and hear the air, and then very minimal air. That's what we want. The beauty of it is I don't have to turn the air off, I don't have to turn the air on, I just do it all in the program by simply making the change right there to air assist, which is kind of off the screen, but right there, air assist on for layer 1, air assist off for layer 2. I'm going to go ahead and run it again so you can see. I do have my cooler on, but I don't have my fan on, so it's a little quieter, but I'm going to be quiet and you might see some dust blow up. That's it. So everything seems to be working the way it's supposed to work. Now it's just a matter of playing around with the air pressure, making sure I got the right pressure, and for both the air assist on and air assist off functions. So again, no turning the air on, no turning the air off. Don't have to worry about forgetting it. Simple as that. Just make sure you pay attention to your programming, and it'll work well. Any questions, feel free to get at me in the comments. check out my website, www.oeadesignworks.com /OMTech laser is going to be the part about the laser. OEADesignWorks.com is going to be where I sell my files, products. Feel free to check me out. Like and subscribe. And again, any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to put links to everything, to my website, which has links for all the parts needed, as well as I'll put some of the links down below. So any questions, let me know. Thank you.